Gathering in Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Melody, and we're joined here today with Morgan. Everyone give it a clap. Woo!
Wow, celebration.
No, come on, guys. Okay, Morgan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Morgan. I was a student at the Gathering like the last 4 years of my life, but now I'm in college. I'm in Springfield at Evangel University, and I'm studying business management and a minor in Spanish. And then I also play softball there. So
whoa, wow, you're just doing everything.
Basically.
A jack of all trades.
Sure.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to date well, but before we do that, I wanted to ask a question, an icebreaker of sorts. Are you ready for the question?
I think I am.
Okay. What is your favorite kind of movie theater food?
Okay, so this is kind of a hard one for me because my dad was that person when we were little, like pull out the coupon book. If we're going to the store, we're using the coupon book.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so if we were going to the movie theater, it was, let's open up our jackets and smuggle the candy in.
Me too. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah. So we just would go to Walmart and buy TM. We would go to Walmart and buy some random piece of candy, and we'd stuff it in our shirts and walk in with these huge stuffed shirts.
I love that.
But I would always get the junior mints. That's
the
my
junior
thing.
mints?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, mine is so bad. So there's one time where I was starving, right? And I was like, I need a whole meal while I watch this movie. So I literally went to Taco Bell. I got a full-on box. I shoved it in the mom purses that are and I'm a small person.
You just have a small dog.
I'm coming in with a whole luggage.
A dog.
And the guy was like, "What's in your bag?" And I was like, things, and I was like, you can't search it, come on, so then he was like, okay, and there were so many people coming in, so he let me go through, and you could clearly smell the Taco Bell, so then I walk in, and I literally have the crunchy tacos, and the movie's playing, I'm like, and it was so bad, but
that is the loudest noise.
Yes, and I brought a whole meal.
Yeah.
I think I even stuck a drink in my bag too. Don't ask me how. I'm that good.
That's incredible. That's talent. That's a gift from God right there.
Thank you. Wow, I'll add that to my list, my resume.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we are talking about how to date well. I have a few questions for you, but it's just a conversation. Okay, so let's just start off easy. What are your 5 characteristics that you look in in a person or someone that you want to date?
I guess whenever I was younger, I did that whole Christian thing. The pastor is you need to make a list of who you want, and when you meet the right one, you can check off every box.
Right, yes.
Yeah. And so, I guess if we're talking, along that lines, the first one was, he lives for the Lord.
Yeah,
obviously. The second one that I probably wouldn't have put on there before I started dating, but now I would, is patience.
Oh.
If you're dating me, you need patience.
Okay.
Another one I'd put on there is persistence. Just someone who's committed, I guess that's a synonym for that word. 4 is a good work ethic, and 5, kind.
Those are good ones.
Thanks.
Wait, I want you to talk about persistence a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, okay. So I really want someone who's going to be certain and sure and committed. If we talk about Jesus, we talk about him as our rock. He is still, and he is always constant. And so that's what I want from someone in a relationship, is someone that it's they're persistent and they're fully in it. They're not going to leave.
Right. Okay, so I think something really cool about this podcast is we get to talk about in real life things, things that probably people won't get the chance to ask you if they weren't around you. So I wanted to ask, and it gets a little deeper, but
go for it.
Is there an area, do you think, that you failed in, maybe in the past in dating or even in relationships in general, that you can now look back and be like, oh, if I was in that situation, I would have done things totally different?
Yeah. Okay, so the boyfriend I have now, his name is Grant. He is my first boyfriend I've ever had.
Okay.
But the biggest thing that I would have gone back and wanted to teach to little Morgan before, Lil Mo, that's my rapper name.
Oh, I love that.
is that do not settle. I think that growing up, I had a really good friend who was in a really great relationship. Yeah. He loved the Lord, she loved the Lord, and I was like, man, there are no more guys out there that love Jesus like that. Really? And so I would have told myself to not settle. There were so many times where I would start catching feelings for a guy, and then I would realize that there was no desire for the Lord there. And so a lot of the times I would try to wiggle my way around it and be like, Jesus, are you sure? Are you really sure? he looks great. Are you?
He looks great.
I think he loves you. He said
Right.
he told me he went to church like in the 5th grade.
Of course.
You know, so just don't settle. If
Yeah.
he doesn't fully love the Lord, then it's not.
Right.
it's
So
not
would you
worth it.
say that's like one of your red flags per se?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, so something I was reading the other day was in John 4 or 5. It was in John 5, that's what it was. And it talks about how Jesus is life. And so in order for me to be ready in a relationship, I need to be seeking life in Jesus.
Yeah.
And in order for this man to be ready for a relationship, he needs to be finding life in Jesus.
Right.
And I think a red flag is when we're finding life in each other and not in Jesus.
That's so true. Yeah. That can be just the dangers of like wanting praise from that person and finding your confidence and who you are in that person instead of the Lord. And that can happen with so many things other than just dating. But I think it's, you realize it more as you date.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you had something to talk about, and it kind of goes with one of the questions I had. But what is one rule that you would absolutely not budge on? Kind of like, you know, a standard or something that you just cannot give up, other than just him knowing the Lord.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that comes off of your question, but you can expound on the stuff that you brought as well.
Yes. Something that's really dear to me and really important to me that I never would have realized before I started dating is the importance of self-control. So Jesus in the Bible, like, he doesn't address dating, like, pretty much at all.
It's a very gray area, for sure.
Yeah, and so dating is essentially, like, very difficult to address when it comes to, like, what is Jesus' desire with this? And so self-control comes into play because, well, physically, obviously, but I also think self-control mentally and emotionally are so important. And the fact of, how do I see this person? And I need to have self-control to see them righteously. And I need to be able to see them as the Lord's son, as the Lord's daughter. And so, like, self-control is so important because it just forms the way they think about you. Because they're able to control their mind. But also the way that they are going to love you, because they're able to protect your heart and protect your boundaries and protect you physically, you know, all these different ways.
Okay, so I think when we talk about self-control, and you mentioned this, it's always about like physical stuff more than not. But you had mentioned even coming out of that space and being more emotionally and mentally. How do you think yourself, like, you can help yourself have self-control over those things as you walk into a relationship?
Yeah, that's a good one. So Grant, I mentioned, he's the guy that I'm dating. He has the most self-control out of anyone I've ever met. Like, it's insane. I never had to practice self-control, really. Like, I never really struggled with things until recently. And I've recently noticed that, like, he is the one with self-control and I am not. And so it's been cool that you asked me that, because the Lord is teaching me that so much of the time, self-control starts internally of what I'm thinking. And so whenever I think about my boyfriend, do I think of him as mine, or do I think of him as God's son? You know, do I recognize him as the son of my Father? And so self-control for me, emotionally and mentally, is like, when I'm coming to him, who do I filter him as? Do I filter him through the Lord's eyes or through mine?
Right. Do you think that also plays a little bit with like forgiveness in a sense? Because I feel like sometimes, not even in dating, but in friendships too, when someone hurts me, I can start filtering them in a way where I'm like, oh yeah, they did something really horrible, or they lied to me and I don't see them the same anymore. And I don't have the ability sometimes to come out of that situation and be like, oh wait, no, they're a child of God. Like, I give myself so much grace, but I can't even give them grace when they lie to me once. And so do you think it kind of plays into forgiveness as well, and seeing them as, you know, God's child? Of
course, Like, if I'm not able to say, okay, I can clearly say, God forgives me, God loves me. And so, like, why would I not be able to say that for the other person? And that's so essential, because as I was talking about earlier, I want someone who's in it, who's committed. And so I must be willing to be in it, committed. And in order to be committed to someone, I have to be willing to forgive them over and over again. And that's something I really struggle with, to be honest, is like, I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah, me too.
Big and
I
clear.
get it.
Yeah. And so the idea of being okay with someone's past, maybe, or being okay with what someone's doing currently, my boyfriend's doing currently, after it's happened. That's a big thing. And that's something the Lord has really been teaching me as well, is that it's okay for someone to mess up, because there is grace because of what happened on the cross. But it's not okay to forget what happened on the cross and not apply that. You know?
So, like, after realizing all these things, what would you say is one thing? So just say if I'm going through this process, I'm listening to this and I'm like, you know what? I struggle with self-control in all these areas. What is one thing that I can start walking towards to help like rectify the situation and grow in that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like my favorite thing to talk about
Perfect.
ever.
Awesome.
If you know Jesus and you have been saved and the Lord is in you, that means you are married to Jesus.
Right.
And I love that because it means before we're in a relationship, we are already in a marriage.
Right.
And so like if I were to give advice to anyone, if you're in a relationship, if you're not, it's, are you committed to your spouse? Are you having self-control with your spouse? Are you dwelling with your spouse of Jesus Christ himself? Like, are you going on dates with him? I like to like wake up every morning and just get a cup of coffee, sit down with the Bible, and like pretend that like I'm sitting with my husband and he's talking to me and I'm talking back to him, which sounds so weird.
I know what you mean, but it's so good, like, to remember why we're here. You know, we're here to have communion with Jesus, and that is the foundation for everything. Yeah. That's so good. Do you have anything that you've brought? I know that you have some notes and you want to talk about, and I would love to hear what you have.
I think we've covered a lot of it, but I just think it's so cool that if you're listening to this right now and you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or if you're listening to this right now and you're single, just know that there's already a God who has pursued you and like who wants you. And so whatever you're looking for right now, like that God is it. And so if you need a relationship, he's the first one and he's the most constant one. And so if you're looking to fall in love, he's already fallen in love with you.
Yeah.
Jesus, he's like that date, you know, like you can't swipe him left or right, you know?
You're stuck on him.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question to ask.
Yeah.
Those that are in a dating relationship, or even like right now, they love the Lord, they're in that. How do you keep God in the center? And just a practical tool, I feel, because people say that and throw that around so much. And sometimes I struggle with like, what's the first step other than what I'm doing now? So do you have something that you do with your boyfriend, or something that you do to keep Jesus in the center? Yeah.
So our biggest thing, we call it overflow love. And so the idea is like a fountain. So like our source is Jesus, and everything that flows out is from him. And so we just catch little bits of each other's overflow love of like the outer parts of the fountain. We're just kind of catching those. And so it's just making sure that Jesus is my first love. And so I do that. We have like a little boundary that he spends time with Jesus, I spend time with Jesus before we ever spend time together. That's so good. It's very helpful. And so like, I don't know, before we ever hang out, it's like, hey, did you ever spend time with Jesus today? Whether that's reading your Bible or spending some time in worship or just sitting down to pray for like a couple minutes, you know?
That's awesome. I actually have not heard that before.
Really?
Like, I almost feel like they're givens, but it's so good to put that in the forefront of a relationship.
I think it's also really easy to keep Jesus at the center by realizing and constantly checking yourself, because it's really easy. I've noticed that I've been dating my boyfriend for a year and a half now. And so it's really easy to start putting him on the back burner and start putting my boyfriend on the front burner. And I think the biggest thing that I notice when I'm doing that and I'm not first pursuing the Lord or first valuing the Lord is that, who am I talking to the most? And I noticed that I'm talking to my boyfriend more often than I am to Jesus. And that's obviously me not just going to the root, not going to Jesus first and loving him first.
Right. Yeah, I think it's so important to just keep Jesus first, which I know can be such a given, but to be reminded of that every single day.
Yeah, and especially like if he or she is the one that loves the Lord and is the one for you, you know, I think that they are going to be constantly drawing you back into the Lord, to constantly want to speak about him or to want to read the Bible together or pray together. Yeah. My boyfriend and I went to a park one time and we literally just sat down and we had a list of things we wanted to pray together about, and we just started praying over them.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and joining with me and talking about dating.
Thanks for having me.
This was great. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful week. Join us again next week for whatever segment we have planned. You're listening to the Gathering in Real Life podcast. We loved having you guys here. We'll see you next week.
Peace.